The space station Orion's ring floated quietly above a purple gas planet. It was massive, with glowing panels, shining towers, and docking bays full of ships from every part of the galaxy. This year, it hosted the most important event in the galaxy, the Interstellar Strategy Championship. And at the center of it all was the game of chess. Aliens of all kinds gathered to watch the tournament. Tall creatures with crystal arms, short ones with glowing eyes, and even beings made of mist floated around the stadium halls. Flags of many planets were displayed, and holograms showed past winners. Among the greatest of them was one name repeated. Again and again, Torvik of Zarn. Torvik was a tall alien with deep blue skin, gold armor, and 4 arms. His eyes glowed with pride and power. He had won the tournament for the last 3 years. He was loud, confident, and loved by his fans. Cameras followed him as he arrived at the arena. Reporters asked him questions, and he answered with bold words. This year, Torvik said, raising his hand, "I will crush every weak mind that dares to face me. Let the humans stay in their small world." The crowd laughed with him. Everyone knew humans were not strong in mental games. They had only a few players in the galaxy's rankings, and none in the top 50. That same day, a small transport ship landed in Dock 9. No one noticed it. From inside walked a young human woman wearing a plain gray coat and simple shoes. She carried no bags, no team, no sponsor signs. Just a small case that held her own chessboard. Her name was Mira. She moved quietly through the station. No cameras followed her. No fans cheered. She didn't care. She had received a private invitation to the championship, and that was enough. The invitation had only said, "You are chosen. Play with your mind, not your name." At the check-in desk, a silver robot scanned her ID and paused. "You are not ranked," the robot said in a flat voice. "Are you sure you want to enter?" "Yes," Mira replied softly. "You are the only human participant," it added. "That's fine," she said. The robot gave her a small badge and pointed her toward the waiting hall. Other players stood in groups, talking loudly, sharing stories, or watching old matches on screens. When Mira entered, no one looked at her. She sat alone in the corner, opened her board, and started playing against herself. One small robot assistant hovered nearby. It had one round eye and soft blue light. Its name tag said, "Reef. Do you need help, participant Mira?" Reef asked politely. "No," she said with a smile. "Just company." Reef hovered silently, watching her play. After a while, it said, "You used the Earth defense opening, but your follow-up is unique. Did someone teach you this style?" "A friend," she answered, not looking up. Before long, the first match list was posted on the wall. Players rushed to see their names. Mira slowly stood and walked toward it. Her name was at the bottom of the list. Myra of Earth versus Vulcan of Nari. Most people didn't notice, but a few did. "Who is Myra of Earth?" one alien player asked. "Some nobody. She'll be out in the first round," another replied. Torvik stood nearby, watching with crossed arms. His assistant whispered in his ear, "She is human. No ranking. No history. She may be a filler player." Torvik grinned. "Perfect. The crowd needs someone to laugh at." Inside the grand game hall, round 1 began. Huge chess tables filled the room. Some were made of glass, others of stone, depending on the culture. Holographic boards hovered in the air for the audience to watch live. Mira sat across from Vulcan, a tall green alien with long fingers and sharp teeth. He smiled wide, showing 2 rows of small fangs. "I'll go easy on you, human," he said. Mira nodded once. "Thank you." The game began. At first, the moves seemed normal. Vulcan pushed hard with his knights. Mira answered calmly with soft pawn movements. He smirked. He thought she was weak, but within 10 minutes, Myra's pieces moved in strange, smooth ways. Her bishop danced across the board. Her knight blocked two paths at once. Her queen sat still, waiting. Vulcan frowned. After 15 minutes. He began sweating. After 20 minutes, the crowd was silent. On move 23, Mira trapped Vulcan's king in a quiet corner with no escape. "Checkmate," she said softly. Vulcan stared at the board in disbelief. He had lost. Cameras zoomed in. Commentators spoke fast. An unranked human just beat a Nari veteran in 23 moves. Who is she? Replay that ending. That was genius. Mira stood and bowed slightly. Then she walked off the stage without a word. Torvik watched from a private viewing room. He narrowed his eyes. "Beginner's luck," he said. "She won't survive round 2. Reef hovered beside Mira as they returned to the resting area. "You beat him easily," Reef said. "Should I alert the analysts?" "No," Mira said. "Let them figure it out themselves." She sat down again in her corner and began another quiet practice game. Around her, whispers began to spread. Who was this human? Where had she trained? And what else was she hiding? The next day, the halls of Orion's Ring were filled with a new kind of buzz. Reporters, spectators, and players all whispered about the same thing. The quiet human woman who had beaten a strong Nari player in just 23 moves. Some said it was luck. Others began to study the game closely. They replayed her every move. Some saw brilliance in her calm play. Others still refused to believe. In the middle of it all, Mira sat in the same corner as before. She wore the same plain gray coat. Her dark hair was tied simply, and her eyes stayed focused on her chessboard. She didn't smile. She didn't show pride. She just played quietly, practicing alone. Next to her, the little robot Reef floated and watched. "Many players are talking about you now," Reef said softly. Mira didn't look up. "That's normal after a win." "They are curious," Reef continued. "Even Torvik watched your match." Mira paused for a moment. "Then he's smarter than he looks." Meanwhile, in a large press room filled with lights and cameras, Grandmaster Torvik gave another interview. He stood tall with his golden armor shining. His 4 arms crossed with confidence. A crowd of fans cheered behind him. "Torvik, did you see the human woman's game?" one reporter asked. "Yes," Torvik said with a smirk. "It was amusing. Do you think she's a threat?" Torvik laughed loudly. "Threat? Please." "She played against one tired opponent. I could defeat her blindfolded. Earth has always been behind in brain sports." The crowd laughed with him. "I'm here to play true champions," he continued. "Let her enjoy the early rounds. She won't last long." Back in the waiting room, the round 2 match list was displayed. Mira of Earth versus Kesh of Blarna. Kesh was a short alien with a round body and orange skin. His people were known for quick minds and sudden attacks. He had placed in the top 10 last year. This time, a few spectators came to watch Mira's match. Not many, but more than before. As Mira sat at the board, Kesh greeted her with a friendly smile. "You play strong for a quiet one," he said. "Thank you," Mira answered. "I won't go easy," he said. "I don't expect you to," she replied calmly. The game began. At first, Kesh rushed with fast, sharp moves. His knights flew forward, and his rooks cut across the board like blades. But Mira didn't react. She moved slowly, thoughtfully. Her fingers hovered over the pieces before every step. Then came move 15. She turned the board. With one quiet pawn shift, Kesh's entire front line fell into confusion. His bishop was trapped. His queen had no exit. The crowd leaned in. Commentators began speaking quickly. Did she just sacrifice 2 pieces for that fork? She's building a trap. Look at the left side. She's drawing him in. He doesn't see it. By move 23, Kesh looked nervous. He wiped his forehead. Mira's eyes remained calm. Move 27. Checkmate. Silence filled the room. The second top-level alien had fallen. Mira stood slowly, gave a respectful nod, and walked away. Reef floated beside her. That was even faster than yesterday. He gave me too many openings, she said simply. Do you think Torvik is watching? He will now, Myra replied. Elsewhere, Torvik watched the replay in his private lounge. His eyes narrowed. That move on 15... Who plays like that? He muttered. His assistant, a small drone with red eyes, hovered beside him. No record of this player's past tournaments, no academy data, no style match. She plays like someone trained, not someone new. Should we study her further? The drone asked. No, Torvik said. She's just a shadow. And I don't chase shadows. Still, he watched the final checkmate 3 times. Back at the rest area, some of the other players finally began approaching Mira. A thin alien girl with silver hair walked up to her. You play like the old Earth champion, she said. Mira nodded. He was my teacher. Ludo of Mars? The girl asked. Mira didn't answer. Others nearby started whispering. Ludo, the retired Earth Grandmaster, had vanished years ago. Some thought he had stopped playing. Others believed he had gone to train in secret. Could this quiet girl be his student? Will you play a friendly game with me later? The girl asked. Mira smiled slightly. Only if you don't mind losing, the girl laughed. I don't. Later that evening, the official rankings updated. Mira, once unknown, was now ranked in the top 16. Media outlets started posting her photo. Headlines said, Silent Storm. Human girl breaks through round 2 inches. Earth surprise genius shocks the board. Can anyone predict Mira's moves? Back in her small room, Mira sat alone, looking at her practice board. Reef hovered quietly. Why do you play this way? Reef asked. Your moves, they are not like the others. Because I don't play to win fast, Mira answered. Then why? I play to learn everything about my opponent. Once I understand how they think, I can break their plan from the inside. Reef blinked. That sounds like war. Sometimes, she said, but war with rules. That's what chess is. She looked out the window at the stars. One day, she whispered, I'll face Torvik. Reef's lights blinked softly. Are you ready? Mira closed her eyes. I've been ready for years. The third day of the tournament started with bright lights, loud music, and an even bigger crowd. Orion's ring had never seen this much attention for a human player. People from many planets had come just to see Mira, the quiet girl who beat 2 high-ranked alien players back to back. But Mira didn't care about the cameras or the crowd. She was focused only on her next match. In the warm-up room, she sat in the same spot. Her eyes stayed on the board. Her fingers moved the pieces gently, one at a time. She practiced alone as if no one else existed. Reef floated beside her, quietly watching. Its single blue eye blinked slowly. Your name is everywhere now, Reef said. Mira didn't look up. I didn't ask for that. You didn't need to, Reef replied. Your moves speak for you. Mira gave a small smile, but didn't answer. She was thinking, calculating, planning. In another room, Torvik stood in front of a group of reporters. He looked more serious today. His arms were crossed, and his golden armor didn't shine as brightly. Are you worried about the human player? One reporter asked. No, Torvik said quickly. She's had 2 lucky games. But now the real test begins. Her strategies are very advanced. Torvik cut him off. She copies old Earth styles. Nothing new. I've seen better. But even as he spoke, his mind returned to her second game. That quiet move on turn 15. It wasn't luck. It was cold, smart calculation. Torvik didn't like that. The round 3 matches were announced. Mira of Earth versus Drellik of Varndralak was a famous player from a planet where chess was used in military training. He wore a dark robe and a helmet that hid his face. His fingers were sharp like claws, and his voice was deep. When Mira sat across from him, he spoke first. I watched your last match, Drellik said. You are clever, Myra nodded. Thank you. But cleverness is not enough. I was trained by war generals. I was trained by silence, she replied calmly. Drellick paused, then said, We'll see which teacher is stronger. The game began. Drellick opened with a strong attack. His knights and bishops moved fast, trying to surround Myra early. His play was aggressive and full of pressure, but Myra didn't panic. She let him advance. Step by step. Her side of the board looked weak. Her pawns were spaced out. Her rooks hadn't moved yet. Some spectators whispered, thinking she had lost control. Even Reef blinked with concern. He's moving faster than your last two opponents. I know, Myra said softly, but you're not reacting. I'm waiting. Waiting for what? Reef didn't know. Then came move 20. Myra's queen suddenly crossed the board. It wasn't an attack. It was a message. Drellick stopped. He leaned forward, studying the move. He looked confused. Then Myra moved a rook. Then a bishop. Within 4 moves, Drellick's attack collapsed. He had pushed too far. He had left his king open. Myra's trap snapped. Shut. Move 29. Checkmate. Room fell silent again. Commentators gasped. She let him attack on purpose. She pulled him in, then cut off every exit. Who plays like this? This is next-level thinking. Myra stood up quietly. Drellick remained seated, eyes wide under his helmet. He gave her a slow nod of respect. You learned well, human, he said. Thank you, Myra replied, and walked away. This time the crowd clapped. Not just Earth supporters, aliens too. Real respect had started to grow. In the press room, the replays of her match ran over and over. Analysis bots broke down her moves. Experts from multiple planets discussed her technique. One senior commentator said, She plays like she's reading the future. Her mind is not reacting, it's predicting. Another said, This is no lucky player. This is a trained genius. The question now wasn't if she was good. It was who had trained her, and why she stayed hidden until now. Meanwhile, in a dark room of the station, a very old human man watched the game on a small screen. His white beard touched his chest, and his eyes were full of memory. It was Ludo, the missing Earth Grandmaster. He smiled as he watched Myra's victory. She's using the pattern I taught her, he whispered. But now, she adds her own voice. Beside him, a young man asked, Should we contact the media? No, Ludo said. Let her rise on her own. She doesn't need me anymore. He leaned back and watched the replay again, back in Myra's room. Reef floated quietly. You're now ranked in the top 8, it said. Tomorrow you may face Torvek himself. Myra nodded. Good. You don't seem nervous. I've played against players like him before. Really? When? In training, Myra answered. My teacher used to pretend to be Torvek. Loud, proud, and easy to read. Reef tilted. Easy to read? Yes, she said. He plays to impress the crowd. He wants to win with power, not with patience. That's his weakness. Reef paused. What's your goal, Myra? She turned to the window again, looking out into the stars, to show that Earth is not weak. That silence doesn't mean fear, and that sometimes the softest voice carries the strongest mind. The 4th round of the Interstellar Strategy Championship was about to begin, and the crowd had grown larger than ever. The stadium halls of Orion's Ring were now filled with aliens, humans, and robots, all waiting for one match. Torvik of Zarn versus Myra of Earth news screens flashed with bright headlines. The Grandmaster faces the ghost. Will silence defeat pride? Earth's genius steps into the fire. The match was set to take place in the main arena, a large circular room with seats for 50,000 and a hovering chessboard at the center. Visible to all, Torvik entered first. He walked with his head high, golden armor shining under the lights, 4 strong arms folded across his chest. The crowd cheered loudly as he raised one hand and shouted, "Let this be a lesson for all who dream too big." Then came Mira. She entered silently, wearing her same gray coat. No music, no lights followed her. She simply walked to the board and sat down. Some people clapped, but others waited quietly. All eyes were on her. Reef floated nearby, unable to follow her to the stage but watching from the side with full focus. She's ready, Reef whispered to itself. Before the match began, Torvik leaned toward Mira and smiled with sharp teeth. So this is the Earth Genius, he said. You play well for someone so small. Mira didn't answer. Don't be shy, he continued. Tell me, do you really believe you can beat me? She looked up at him, her voice calm. I don't need to believe, I just need to play. Torvik laughed loudly. That's cute. But this is where your little dream ends. Mira placed her hand on a pawn. We'll see. The timer beeped. The game began. Torvik opened with the crushing blade, a strong and famous opening move used by many Zarn champions. His pieces flew forward quickly, claiming the center of the board. Mira answered with slow moves, small steps. Her pawns moved like quiet waves. Her knights circled, never rushing. The audience leaned forward. Commentators spoke quickly. Torvik's attack is strong, but she's not panicking. She's letting him take space. Maybe she's setting a trap? Torvik kept attacking. His queen moved into position. His bishops created a wall of power. By move 15, Mira had lost a rook. Torvik smirked. Your pieces are falling apart. Mira stayed silent. He leaned forward again. Say something, human. Are you finally scared? Mira looked him in the eyes. I'm just listening. Listening to your moves. You're talking too much. Torvik frowned slightly. Then came move 20. Mira moved her queen across the board. It wasn't an attack. It looked like a mistake. Gasps came from the crowd. What is she doing? She just gave him a free path. Torvik grinned. Thank you for the gift. He moved his knight in fast, believing the game was close to over. Then Mira moved a pawn. Just a simple pawn. Suddenly, Torvik's queen was trapped. He blinked. Looked again. One move later he lost the queen. No. He muttered. The crowd roared. Torvik tried to recover. He moved his rooks quickly, looking for control. He pushed with his pawns. He tried to surround Mira's king, but her defense was clean, smooth. Every move answered his perfectly. Every piece worked together like water flowing through a narrow path. Move 33. Mira sacrificed her knight. Torvik jumped at the chance. Then came move 34. Check. He looked again. His king was boxed in. One path left. He moved. Mira replied with her bishop. Checkmate. The crowd froze. Then came a wave of sound cheers, gasps, applause. Even some of Torvik's fans stood up, stunned. Torvik sat in silence. He stared at the board, his 4 hands resting on the table. His mouth stayed open, but no words came. Mira stood up gently. She looked at him. You talk with your voice, she said softly. I talk with the board. Then she bowed and walked off the stage. In the halls, Reef raced to her side. You did it, the little robot said. You beat the Grandmaster. He beat himself, Mira replied. I just let him keep talking. Cameras followed her now. Reporters tried to ask questions. Lights flashed. Fans clapped as she passed. Mira kept walking. She didn't want to be a star. She just wanted to play. Torvik stayed behind, alone on the stage. His assistant drone floated beside him. Should I schedule a press reply? It asked. Torvik didn't answer. He looked at the board again. She read me like an open book. That evening, the galaxy's media exploded. Grandmaster falls. Mira, Earth's silent genius, breaks the top 4. Who trained this woman? Back in her room, Mira sat with Reef and played another quiet practice game. You've made it to the semifinals, Reef said. Now everyone knows your name, Mira nodded. But I'm not finished. Why do you play, really? Reef asked again. You said before it's to show Earth is strong. Is that all? Mira thought for a moment. No, it's also for me. To prove that I don't need to shout to be heard. She looked out the window, and that minds from small places can still shake the stars. The next day, the air inside Orion's ring felt different. Something had changed. People walked faster. Reporters spoke louder. Fans wore Mira's symbol, just a quiet white pawn on a dark background. The girl from Earth had defeated Grandmaster. Torvik and the entire galaxy was watching. Even those who had ignored the tournament before now wanted to see what she would do next. Inside the resting hall, the remaining players waited for the semifinals. Only 4 players were left. Mira of Earth, Velar of Syndra, a twin-brained alien strategist, Ishna of Zarnak, the queen of sharp openings, Jan of Mekrel, a robot with perfect memory. Each of them was known across the galaxy. Except Mira. And yet, she was now the one everyone talked about. Mira sat in her usual place, calm and quiet, playing practice games against herself. Reef floated beside her as always. Your next match is against Velar, Reef said. He has 2 brains and plays with 2 layers of thought. Most players can't keep up. Mira nodded, not looking up. Good. I need the challenge. You don't seem nervous. I'm never nervous before the storm, Mira replied. In a private media room, Torvik watched her quietly on the screen. He didn't give interviews. He didn't speak to the press. But he studied her game again and again. His assistant floated beside him. She beat you with patience. Torvik nodded slowly. She didn't beat me with tricks. She waited. She learned my pattern. Then she ended it in silence. He stood up. I underestimated her. The others will too. The semifinal began in the crystal room. A beautiful hall with walls of glass and light flowing from the ceiling like water. Velar sat calmly on one side of the board. His 2 heads turned to Mira when she entered. One head smiled. The other did not. You've caused quite a wave, human, Velar said. Mira nodded. Do you think silence can defeat logic? She answered softly. Sometimes silence is the deepest. Logic, Velar chuckled. We shall see. The game began. Velar played fast. Both brains worked at once. He used 2 openings at the same time, switching between styles with smooth control. His moves were hard to read. He would press forward with one piece while holding back another. But Mira stayed calm. She let the board grow complex. She moved her pieces like dancers in a slow performance. Each step seemed quiet, but together they made a clear picture. Velar frowned by move 10. Mira's defense was strange. It didn't block his pieces, it guided them. By move 17, one of Velar's bishops was gone. A trap had opened behind it. Commentators whispered, she's bending his plan. She's not fighting his control, she's using it. Reef watched from the side and blinked. She's painting the board. Velar's 2 heads started arguing. Attack, said the right one. Wait, said the left. She's planning something. But they couldn't agree. And Mira? She just watched. Quietly. Move 24. She gave away a pawn. Move 25. She placed her rook in a strange position. Move 26. Check. Velar panicked. He moved his king sideways. Mira slid her queen forward. Checkmate. Velar leaned back, both heads silent. He looked at her. You didn't fight me. You invited me. You beat yourself, Mira said softly. I only listened to the board. Cheers filled the crystal room. The crowd outside celebrated as the news spread. Mira reaches the final. From Earth to the stars. Quiet genius destroys double brain Velar. Reef floated beside Mira as she walked through the halls. You've made it, Reef said. 1 match left, Mira nodded. And it will be the hardest. Do you know who you'll face? Ishna, Mira replied. She's faster than all of them, Reef blinked. Yes, she's famous for ending games in under 20 moves. I'll need to slow her down. Can you? I will. Back. In a distant part of the station, Ludo, the old Earth Grandmaster, watched her match again. His wrinkled face smiled. She's better than me now, he whispered. Beside him, a young assistant said, she never speaks to the media. Never promotes. Earth, isn't that a problem? Ludo shook his head. She promotes Earth with every move. Her silence speaks louder than speeches. That night, Mira sat in her room, looking out at the stars. The lights of distant planets sparkled in the sky. Reef floated beside her. Are now known across the galaxy, Reef said. What will you do after the tournament? Mira didn't answer right away. Then she said, go home, back to my small place. Reef blinked. You don't want to stay and enjoy fame? No, she said. I only came here to remind them that even the quiet ones have power. She touched the chessboard softly. One more match, she whispered. Then I go home. The grand final of the Interstellar Strategy Championship was about to begin. Every screen across the galaxy showed the same headline: Mira of Earth versus Ishna of Zarnak. The final battle begins. On Orion's ring, no seat was empty. Even the quietest corners of the station buzzed with excitement. Soldiers, scholars, and star travelers stopped their work just to watch. In the main arena, two players sat under the bright lights. On one side sat Ishna, a tall and sharp-eyed alien woman. Her fingers were long, and her eyes moved quickly. Her people were known for speed, and Ishna was the fastest player in the galaxy. On the other side sat Mira, quiet, calm, and still wearing her gray coat. She looked like she didn't belong in such a grand place, but everyone now knew better. Even the stars seemed to pause as the match began. Before the first move, Ishna leaned toward Mira. I've seen your games, she said. You wait. You. Listen, but I don't give time. Mira looked at her softly. You move fast, but speed doesn't always mean control, Ishna smiled. We'll find out. The timer beeped. Ishna made her first move instantly. Her fingers moved like lightning. Pawn. Knight. Bishop. Queen. Rook. By move 5, the board looked full of danger. Ishna's pieces danced across the board with energy and skill. The crowd watched in silence. Reef, floating near the front, whispered to itself, she's even faster than before. Mira stayed quiet. She took her time. Every move was like a slow breath. She didn't chase. She didn't block everything. She let the storm come. Commentators spoke quickly. She's behind on time. Ishna is 5 moves ahead. Can Mira keep up? But Mira didn't change her rhythm. She let her thoughts flow slowly, her hands calm. Then, on move 12, something changed. Mira's bishop moved into a strange place. It didn't protect anything. It didn't attack anything. Ishna paused for half a second. Then she moved again. Fast. Mira moved her knight. Then her queen. Then came a small pawn shift. That was the moment. The crowd gasped. She's pulling Ishna's pieces to one side. She's clearing space on the other. Ishna hasn't noticed. She's too fast. Ishna's smile began to fade. She realized that Mira's slow moves had not been weak. They were a path, a trap. She had moved so fast. She hadn't seen what Mira was building underneath. By move 18, Ishna's queen was blocked. By move 20, her rook had no way out. On move 21, Mira calmly moved her bishop again. Check. Ishna sat still. She looked at the board. She had no fast answer. She moved her king to the side. Mira followed with her knight. Check. Ishna moved again. Mira's queen crossed the board like a quiet wave. Checkmate. The stadium exploded with noise. Cheers, gasps, clapping, and even a few tears from Earth's side. Commentators shouted, "She did it! Mira wins the championship." The girl from nowhere just conquered the galaxy. Mira stood slowly. She gave a small bow to Ishna, who nodded back with respect. "You listened," Ishna said softly. And you move too fast to hear yourself, Mira replied. Reef floated to her side as she left the stage. You've done it, the little robot said. You're the champion of the galaxy, Mira nodded. Yes. Will you speak to the crowd now? No, she said gently. The board already said everything. Later, in the press room, reporters begged for a word from Myra. Lights flashed. Microphones were raised. Even other champions waited for her to speak, but she just stood quietly. One reporter asked, "Do you have anything to say to young players from Earth?" Mira looked into the camera and said just one sentence. You don't need to be loud to. Be great. Then she walked away. Far away, in a small home on a moon near Mars, Ludo, the retired Earth Grandmaster, watched the final match. He wiped his eyes. She found her own path, he whispered. I only showed her the way. Beside him, his assistant smiled. Now Earth stands proud again. That night, Orion's ring held a victory ceremony. Bright lights danced in the sky. Music from different worlds played. Champions were honored. Flags from all known planets waved in peace. When Mira's name was called, the crowd stood. She walked to the stage quietly. No speech, no drama. She took the trophy with both hands, held it for a moment, and then stepped down. She had no interest in fame. She had already achieved what she came for. Back in her quiet room, Mira sat with Reef, packing her things. Are you really leaving tomorrow? Reef asked. Yes, Mira said. I've done what I needed to do. You could stay, teach, become a legend. I don't want to be a legend, she said. I just want to live simply again. Reef tilted slightly. Will you play chess? Again, Myra smiled. Always, but not for crowds, for joy. Reef hovered quietly for a moment, then said, I'm glad I met you. I'm glad you stayed by my side, she replied. The ship carrying Mira gently lifted off from Orion's ring. Through the small window, the glowing lights of the space station faded into the distance. The stars stretched out, silent and endless. Mira sat alone in the small cabin. Her gray coat was folded neatly on a chair. Her chess case rested on the table. Reef hovered quietly beside her, its blue eye blinking softly. Do you feel different now? Reef asked. Mira looked out at the stars. No, I feel the same. You won the greatest tournament in the galaxy. She smiled gently. But I didn't win for the prize or fame. Reef tilted, curious. I won for the quiet ones. For those who listen more than speak. For those who watch and think before they move, Reef blinked. That's very wise. Back on Earth, in a small town under a sky filled with stars, news of Mira's victory reached the people. Children stopped playing to watch broadcasts. Adults gathered around screens in cafes. And homes. Teachers told stories of Myra's calm mind and careful moves. Young players picked up chess sets, dreaming of following her path, but Mira stayed away from all the noise. She returned to her quiet life, walking the empty parks, reading books, and playing chess in small rooms with just a few friends. One evening, as Myra sat by a small window, she received a message. It was from Ludo, the retired Earth Grandmaster. You have made us proud. The world is watching you now. But remember, the greatest games are the ones we play with ourselves. Mira smiled and replied, Thank you. I will never stop playing. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the story of Mira inspired many. In distant planets, quiet players began to rise. They remembered her words. You don't need to be loud to be great. New schools taught her strategies. New champions studied her calm style. Even Torvek watched her games again. Learning from the player he once tried to intimidate, he stood alone on his home planet and said softly, she was not just a player. She was a teacher. Months passed. Mira received invitations to teach, to speak, and to guide new players. She accepted some quietly, preferring small rooms and close groups. Her message was simple. Chess is not about power or noise. It is about patience, thought, and respect. Every move matters just like every person. One day, Reef asked her, "Do you miss the tournament?" Mira thought. "No," she said, "but I miss the challenge." "Will you play again?" "Always," she said, "but not to prove, to enjoy." As she placed her chess pieces on the board, the soft light of the room showed her calm face. Her hands moved slowly. Carefully, she whispered, "Every game is a story. Every move is a word." Outside, the night was quiet. But inside, the mind of a genius was alive, ready for the next quiet battle.